Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. Each episode will bring you in-depth discussion with experts, community leaders, and analysts who will share their insights, experiences, and predictions. From local elections to global diplomacy, we'll provide you with the tools and perspectives you'll need to navigate today's real-world landscape.
Welcome to Straight Shot Politics. I'm Lisa Chafee.
I'm Josh Cease.
I'm Michael Nash.
And this is this week's Hot Shots. And it's a nice rundown of what is, well, going on, what's hot, what's here, what's happening, what's in the know, what's current. And Michael and Lisa, I'll go ahead and just start. I think the news of the week started actually last weekend, which was the Saturday incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which we know Cole Allen, the deranged leftist teacher, another teacher, who attempted to rush and assassinate President Trump, who was stopped short and arrested, taken into custody. Thank God nobody was killed. Secret Service and law enforcement did their job and prevented him from getting near the president. But they're 0 for 3 now, guys. That's 0 for 3.
But you know what, though? I've got to give it to them. They're getting more creative. They're getting more creative.
I'm waiting on the Fidel Castro exploding cigar trick.
Pretty much,
point.
Yeah. Or something like that, or just, let me show you my little friend, sort of thing.
Now, see, you did what I was not going to do, which was put the name, because I don't want to give this idiot any credit. I just fade away. I think one of the worst things we ever do is with serial killers and these assassins is to put their name out there. But so just for a little context, he was at a checkpoint outside the ballroom, had a 12-gauge Maverick shotgun and multiple knives. And as a matter of fact, today they showed a picture on the news he took of himself in the mirror right before this occurred, and it shows the knives on his hips, his gun.
He had that trench coat on it. It looked like it looks like a magician where they store their like hidden coins and like stuff like that to pull an illusion. Except he had, Wesley Snipes in the movie Blade would be jealous of this guy's cutlery.
Yeah,
I didn't even see it, but it seems it's not really cold still. It's still kind of warm. But that should have rang a bell right there.
Yeah.
A guy walks up in a trench coat, I'm like, this looks funny.
Yeah.
There's about to be something happening here.
Well, what I think people on the left that agree with this trying to assassinate Trump fail to realize, if, God forbid, that were to happen, Republicans, conservatives will rise just like this country did on December 7th, 1941.
Listen. I'll come out and say it, and maybe it sounds extreme, but it's not. There's just no doubt about it. The left wants all MAGA dead. Mm-hmm. They don't want to coexist. They don't want to. No, they want all MAGA dead. I've seen many of these TikTok, and it's always these leftist white women. God, they're a plague on the earth. And they're making these unhinged, emotionally just lunatic TikTok videos talking about, we're going to come door to door and, what are you going to do when people start questioning, who did you vote for? And like, you're not going to go door to door. You're not going to do that. But if you did, then you have a death wish. Because what are you going to do? Oh, did you vote for Trump? Yes, 3 times. Oh, you're under arrest? This is what I'm saying. It has escalated to the point of such stupidity that I'm just done playing games. Mm-hmm. And I had to finally purge so many people off my social media because I'm just done with it. If you are openly now rooting for the president of the United States to be assassinated, you can kiss my ass and go to hell. And I'm not trying to be just, gratuitous about that, but I'm just done. I can't do it.
Well, you know what baffles me? Even I campaigned hard against Obama. I campaigned hard against Biden, but I never once rooted for them to fail while they were serving as president. Because if the president fails, our country fails.
Yeah, I just pointed out that Biden was a complete failure as a president.
He was, but
I wasn't rooting for that because I was getting screwed over at the same time.
Yeah, and this is what's so frustrating. I see all these, on the man on the street reporters interviewing liberals, and one thing I hear these white liberal women saying is, "Our rights are being taken away." Well, I'm a white woman, and I have not had one single one of my rights infringed upon in my lifetime.
No, you will always have the right to make a sandwich.
Yep.
There we go. Nice. There we go, man.
I felt my wife slap me through. Yeah, I felt my wife slap me through the microphone. I don't know how, but she did.
Yeah. It's I
Obviously
just don't
joking.
get. It's just this fear mongering by the left and the condescending comments. Who was it? Jasmine Crockett talking about.
Excuse me, she's not Congressman Jasmine Crockett. She'll let you know she's a black woman in America, Jasmine Crockett.
Who can't even speak. She chooses not to speak proper English because she's very well educated.
Oh, not when she's talking around like that.
Yeah.
She gets at Hillary Clinton is like, I've been so tired, y'all. I carry the hot sauce in my purse.
Yeah.
I mean, she panders to that lowest common denominator of urban culture. Like, you got to have street cred. Like, if you speak proper English, you lose your street cred to her or something.
Yeah.
I think they call that ham boning, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that it might be a legitimate term, yes.
Yeah, I think so. But, I was seeing some articles on social talking about how when did all this current problem we're having with the racial division, when did it start? And it's all going back to Obama. As every post I'm seeing, it goes back to Obama. And that really, it just befuddles me. And then we see the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yep, that's another hot shot.
Indicted
the
for
biggest hate group.
They
in
are
the
the biggest hate group. As a matter of fact, my organization, Parents' Rights and Education, it's not mine, I'm part of, Parents' Rights and Education, Moms for Liberty, all listed as hate groups. And then it turns out they are paying money to instigate the Ku Klux Klan, white
because
supremacists.
the Democrats have a race problem, and the problem is there's not enough racism to go along to perpetuate their little game, so they have to literally pay to create racism problems so they can have a job. What the hell else would an Al Sharpton or a Jesse Jackson, who's now, God rest his soul, Well, what else would they have done the rest of their lives? If they had actually not tried to create race problems, they would have had no business to do.
Yeah.
They're grabbing a hold of the pendulum and hanging on to it for a little bit longer,
And that's what it is that, listen, the Democrats are still the same party that founded the Ku Klux Klan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's an old saying, but it's a good saying. I mean, you ever see what happens when a black guy or a black gal is a conservative? I mean, it is.
Oh, they are treated horrifically.
It's the most racist. Like, get back on the plantation, boy. I told you're not allowed to leave. They might as well talk like that. What it goes back to the "if you don't vote for me, you ain't black"
That's what I was getting ready to
bullshit that
say.
Biden said.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is what I find funny looking from the outside in. You've got these Democrats preaching their mantra and railing about capitalism and all the rich white people. Who's running the Democrat Party? Rich white people.
Rich white.
George Soros, the Bidens, the Clintons. Well, I guess you could say Kamala Harris, but she's not really.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos. Yeah. All those Gates, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Rich white people is so freaking condescending.
It is, and it translates into the final hot shot of the week, and that goes into the humongous Supreme Court ruling, which basically, here's what the Democrats say: the Voting Rights Act has been destroyed by a bunch of racist conservatives on the Supreme Court. No, the Supreme Court said You cannot draw congressional districts based on race. Now, we've had all three of us agree that none of us are the genius enough to go, aha, this is exactly how all congressional districts should be drawn. None of us here, Mike's not claiming it, Lisa's not claiming it, and I'm not claiming it. But I think we can all agree that it should not have anything to do with race.
No.
And if that is a problem, I want to know the fundamental problem other than the fact that you want self-segregation. Like, you fought so hard to end segregation, now that you're fighting to bring it back.
I thought it was geography.
Shouldn't it be geographic?
I thought it was
Geography and volume, the number of people per district.
Roughly, it's 750,000 people per district in the United States, I believe.
Something like that. And one of them is shaped like a duck.
Well, so here's what I accept is that in our district, I want to be represented by someone from my district who represents my values. Now, I don't care if they're black, white, or green with pink polka dots, as long as they share my same values and they honor the Constitution above everything else. Constitution first.
They also need to be fighting for things that you have a vested interest in, that you have actual ties to, skin in the game. We don't have any skin in the game in what happens in Lucas County up in Toledo.
Exactly.
But now in Franklin, but you can do a mashup of like Franklin and Madison and county or Pickaway County, those surrounding areas. At least we have a common geographic area. And our we're so intertwined economically that it does have a very big impact.
It does, but
on all of us.
I just really think that they call it gerrymandering, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. And I think that there's got to be something else too.
Well, and to be fair, both parties do it. Whoever is in control, that's who's going to draw the lines, and they always try to do it to favor themselves to maintain control or get even more power. Texas. Look what just happened in Virginia.
Yeah.
The governor, newly elected leftist governor, who said she wouldn't do it, and then what does she do? The first thing, tries to redraw the maps, and their Supreme Court said, no, you can't do this. This is illegal on how you're doing it. But a friend of mine who happens to be a very smart attorney, I asked him his opinion on this. He said, I fundamentally reject the idea that somehow a minority community can only be represented by a person with the same colored skin, and the majority can only be represented by somebody with the same colored skin. It just doesn't make any sense to me, unquote. And it's true.
It is 100% true.
It's unfortunately, I think the true division really is economic class. That's
true.
And as long as we can understand each other and relate, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, because just because you're black and I'm white and we're in the same neighborhood doesn't mean we're not having similar experiences and that we can't effectively represent each other.
Well,
agreed. But you know what though? Looking at the clock, this is becoming more than a shot.
Yeah,
this is becoming more like a drink now.
It is
more than a
so,
shot.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that because 10 to 15 minutes is fine by me because we're very wordy.
Yes, we are. And we're very passionate.
Yes.
And there's so much stuff to talk about, and we only get to do this every so often.
You know what, though? But that's just it. Keep listening to this podcast because redistricting and the rest of the world's problems we're eventually going to solve.
We will.
Before we bring our guest on tonight, I want to follow up right quick on the Melanie Lanahan situation up in Delaware County. This primary election is, 5 days from now, 6 days from now?
As of the recording of this.
As of the recording of this, 6 days from now. Today's April 30th. Primary is May 5th. So we are still waiting to hear from the Ohio Supreme Court on their ruling to her petition to keep her on the ballot. So hopefully by the time we come together again, we'll know the answer to that question.
You've got that right. But again, seriously, we'll figure it all out. I mean, because that's our job, is to solve all the world's problems.
Yes.
And that's been this week's Hot Shots.
Gentlemen, we are now being joined by Senator Kristina Roegner, who is serving her second term in the Ohio Senate, representing the 27th Senate District, which includes Portage County, parts of Summit, and Geauga counties. And she is now running for state treasurer. Senator, thank you for joining us.
Lisa, thank you for having me on.
Well, we're really excited. And one thing I want to share with our listeners is you're not just a pretty face. You're actually a quite intelligent woman. You have a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from Tufts University and a Master of Business Administration with a concentration in Finance and Strategic Management from the Wharton School of Business. That's
wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, that is. How exciting. So tell us why now. So you're termed out of your Senate seat. Why do you want to be Ohio's next treasurer?
Well, thank you for that question. So the state treasurer, it's a role. It's not very policy heavy, but it is important that you have someone that has good qualifications, the right qualifications, because the treasurer, they take in the fees, they take in the taxes, they invest the money, they safeguard these funds. These are taxpayer dollars. They safeguard them, and then they make sure that the money is there when the bills need to be paid. And then they also run many other programs too, like AgLink and the stable accounts, the first-time homebuyer programs, and Star Ohio, and many more. But I have just loved my service in the legislature. I love serving people in the state of Ohio. And then with my background in finance, as you just mentioned, it triangulates beautifully to being the next treasurer of state. So it's a background in the legislature, a background in finance, and a love for service.
You know, Kristina, we've this primary that's coming up here, and just what are we now? Good Lord, 5 days away. We're going to be in the primary, and your opponent is he's come at you with a lot of different ads. And honestly, I think to be honest with you, I think it's been a really above board for the most part primary race as far as the treasurer goes. I do. I know the vice president has, gave out his endorsement and so forth, but I think, it's been a well-run race, but you've really focused on what, not necessarily, you don't denigrate your opponent. It's just more about saying that, look, my qualifications just make me the better choice at the time. And I think that's the key difference here is that it's not a lot of mudslinging I'm hearing. It's just more of like, hey, I've got the experience, I have the qualifications, and really it just boils down to who do you think based on merit can do a better job?
Well, that's right. I mean, absolutely. It's qualifications, it's merit. But, there is a certain degree of, it's very important that the treasurer is free from any scandal or even hint of corruption. And that, they have the respect of their colleagues down in Columbus. And so that's where I'm grateful that I have the endorsement of the Speaker of the House, Matt Huffman, the Senate President, Rob McCauley, every single member of leadership in the House and Senate, as well as a supermajority of my colleagues in both chambers on the Republican side, because they know both me, they know my primary opponent, they've worked with both of us, and they're all putting their names in my column, and I'm very grateful for that. As are counties, too. By the way, I think that's also very noteworthy that, when every single county that has had allowed me to come in and speak, and we've had a side-by-side, they do their homework, they research both candidates, they research what have those candidates done, good and bad, and look at the qualifications. And I thank God that every single one of those counties has endorsed my candidacy.
What are some of the nuances people may not understand about what it takes when you have 88 counties, 88 diverse locations, and they all have various needs, and they all I mean, talk about that, because you've got to be an ambassador to 88 different, counties that are looking to you for guidance and figuring out these things. Talk about that, and how you've got to be pretty flexible and knowledgeable about a whole lot of different places in the state and all different kinds of needs.
No, that's right. So, and it's been a joy to travel to these 88 counties over the last year and a half as I've been running this campaign. And you're right, it's very, very diverse. Like, down in Southeast Ohio, you have the Appalachian Hills. Over in the West, you've got these really flat farmlands, and up in Northeast Ohio, where I come from, we have a lot of suburbs, and we have cities, and it's just it's very diverse. They have different needs and different concerns. So some communities are really talking about data centers, and pretty much everywhere I go, they want to talk about property taxes. But it is important to get out there and talk to these communities, these different counties, figure out what their needs are, and be able to connect with them.
So, what skill set, aside from you have the degrees, you understand the legislative side of things, and as you already stated, the treasurer really isn't about policy. You're just there to safeguard our money and make sure that it is spent properly. But what other skills do you bring to the table that will make you a good treasurer?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, again, first and foremost, it's having a knowledge and understanding of finance and investing, and that is my background. So you need to be able to understand what is a yield curve, what's the difference between bills and notes and bonds, and just the basic elements of finance, which I have. Then also, again, as you mentioned, working with the legislature, it's important for the treasurer to be able to work well and cohesively with their colleagues down in Columbus. And that's from the governor. And by the way, I am also grateful to be endorsed by Vivek and Lieutenant Governor candidate Rob McCauley. So to be able to work with everyone from the governor to everyone in the legislature. And again, that's where I have these incredibly strong working relationships, and they are, like I said, a super majority of them have endorsed my candidacy. So I can pick up the phone as an ex-treasurer and just call them up and say, hey, this is what I've noticed. If I notice there's any waste, fraud, and abuse, I can pick them up on the phone and talk to them. If I think there's an opportunity in a particular area for another link deposit program, I can call them up and say, hey, I'd love to see this change, and so forth. So I think that's very important too for the next treasurer, and that's another skill set that I bring. I've been very, very effective down in Columbus. So if you look at like the bills that I've been able to pass compared to my opponent, he's I don't know if he's passed any bills really other than the state budget. But I have passed tons of bills to help Ohioans. I mean, in the area of occupational licensure and regulatory reform and on, because I'm able to get things done down there. So working with my colleagues and using common sense and just being very effective. So I think that's another important skill set that the treasurer should have.
So along those lines, some of the legislation you've helped to get passed, what has been what are some of the most important things that maybe we don't know that you were sponsors of? Tell us about some of those bills.
Oh, thanks. So, okay, where do I even start? So first of all, I'm very pro-life, and so I sponsored Ohio's viability bill and heartbeat bill. When Amy Acton was shutting down the state, I sponsored a bill to open the state back up. We had to override a veto to get that done. This was during COVID. And as soon as we got this veto overridden, we started to see the state open back up. I chaired general government 2.5 years ago. We got biological males out of girls' sports. It was House Bill 68, but I was the one that shepherded it through the Senate. I chair higher education. We got DEI out of higher ed. At the beginning of this General Assembly with Senate Bill 1. I sponsored a bill to cut regulations by 30% in the state. I co-sponsored that with Senator McCauley. And I've done a ton of work in occupational licensure. This is really fun. It sounds boring by its title, but it's actually really cool. So I like to compare it to if you have a driver's license in Ohio and you want to drive to Florida, say, and imagine you had to stop at the border of Kentucky and get a new driver's license for Kentucky. You had to go through the test and pass, pay the fees, And then you get to Tennessee and you got to do the same thing. You got to get a Tennessee license. You know how cumbersome that would be. That was what it's like for people that, like a nurse. You know, they had a nursing license from one state and they couldn't easily go across state lines. Now you can, because we're joining states to these licensure compacts, and now your nursing license is like a multi-state license. Any state that's joined the compact, your nursing license is good in those states automatically. And we're doing this I've done this already for 14 different professions, and so it's very, very popular for not just the professional but also for the patient, because now it increases access to care. So those are just some of the things that I've been working on in the legislature. Oh, and then right now I've got another bill, it's Senate Bill 172, which has cleared the Senate. It's in the House, and that helps with immigration reform. So, you know, basically we had some activist judges in Franklin County that were saying to law enforcement, saying, you know, you can't come onto our parking lots, and they had passed rules and so forth. And my bill says, no. If you are in this country illegally, you are not privileged from arrest, and no one can say that you're privileged from arrest in any area. So we're getting a lot of good work done, and I'm thankful for it.
Hey, what are you seeing just long-term wise and short-term wise? What are the budget challenges, and what are some of the, I would say, you know, we're doing a little bit better here in this area, so maybe we need to focus a little bit more on this, but, you know, just making sure that everything keeps running smooth in Ohio. And yes, we've got all these data centers opening and various companies coming in, and you know, you'll want to see the job hirings and more income here, you know, revenue coming into the state of Ohio. How are we shaped up right now? And if, you know, what would you like to see to keep us shaped up headed into the future?
Yeah, no, I think we've done a lot of good work in Ohio, and there's certainly more to be done. Like, for example, our income tax. You know, when I first came into the legislature, the top income tax bracket was over 7%. We had 9 brackets. 7% was the highest. And now slowly over time, we've been lowering that and lowering it. And now we're down to one flat tax at 2.75. So we've come a long way there. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been cutting regulations. So we're making Ohio just a generally more attractive place to do business and live. And that's why you are seeing companies move to Ohio, quite a few of them, particularly from the coast. You know, I'm particularly excited about Anduril. That's an up and coming company. I mean, huge, making these drones. And so exciting things are happening here. There's more to do, right? I mean, I would love to see us get to a 0% income tax. I think that would be huge. We have to, in order to get there, I think we're going to have to continue to cut our operating budget. And now with the property tax potentially hitting the ballot, you know, there's a movement to eliminate property tax altogether. So that would have to obviously be weighed into the mix. But I'm all about lower taxes and limited government.
Good stuff. Hey, Senator, this is not a subject we talk about a lot on Straight Shot Politics, but I'm going to throw on the table. How are you on the Second Amendment?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I am very strong on the Second Amendment. First of all, I'll start with I've been endorsed by Buckeye Firearms, you know, Ohio's preeminent Second Amendment organization. So, and I consistently over my many years in the legislature, I've always received like the top ratings from the NRA and Buckeye Firearms. So, and I'm thrilled that we also, in my time in the legislature, we have passed restaurant carry. We've passed stand your ground. We passed constitutional carry. And now there's a bill in my committee that I think it's 392. Don't quote me on the number, but I think it's 392 that would call it the Freedom Act.
Yeah.
And that, among other things, would allow people to carry a loaded weapon in their car. So, so we are a true Second Amendment state, and I'm a gun owner myself. I have a concealed carry permit.
Excellent.
So I'm absolutely 100%.
Yeah, so that bill, I'm looking at that bill a little bit. I forget the number 2. They all got to run on my head here, but that's the one that it fixes a lot of things. It's not just carrying your car. It's also bringing the legal carry or legal pistol age back down to 18, where it should be. Right.
So, since Trump took office this term and we saw what Doge did, transparency is very important. And at one point, we had the Ohio checkbook, which was supposed to provide real-time financial and transactional data created to improve, that transparency, so we can see how the state money is being spent, where the revenue's coming from, and how it's allocated in the state budget. Will you? But the problem with it is it's not mandated. It's all voluntary, from what I understand. So, tell us more about that. And as treasurer, will you help to strengthen that?
Yes. So the Ohio's checkbook, and by the way, it is mandatory for the state, but it's optional for local governments and municipal governments and schools and so forth. But for the state, it is mandatory. We voted for that back when I was a freshman in the House, and Josh Mandel was the state treasurer at the time. So we put that online. And not only is it good because it allows people to see how the money is spent, but I also think it's a benefit because it makes all these agencies think twice about how they're going to spend their money, because they know it's going to be transparent. Everyone can see it. And so light is a good thing when you shine light on a subject. So now there is a bill in the House, and I'm going to get this bill number wrong. You have to double check this. I think it's 419, but I might be wrong. But there is a bill in the House that would expand it to make it mandatory for those where it's optional right now. And again, that's schools and municipalities. And that would be a wonderful thing. In fact, I'm hoping they'll get that through the House, and I'll help shepherd it through the Senate. I'm very supportive of it. And then as the next state treasurer, I'd be delighted to implement it. I think that's transparency is wonderful in government.
Yeah, I think looking at the school aspect of it, that would be so incredible that schools have to put online where they're spending every single penny, because there's just 100%. So much waste going on. There's so much money being allocated to administrative positions instead of to the actual teachers. I've seen situations where someone served in an administrative position, they stepped down to a lesser position, but they kept the same salary for the administrative position. So there's so much more that needs to be done with that. And I hopefully, fingers crossed, come Tuesday, everybody will vote for you, and you will be on the ballot for the general election. So just take a minute, give us that last-minute elevator speech, tell everybody why they should vote for you.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for taking the time to interview me, and to the listeners who have listened. So my name is Kristina Roegner, and I am running to be the next treasurer of state. I am got the background to do it, the qualifications, both educational and professional background to be the next state treasurer. I've served with integrity and honor during my time in elected office, and I would be absolutely honored to have your vote to be Ohio's next treasurer of state. The way to remember my name is to think Go Rogue. Last name is spelled Roegner. So if you might go Rogue on May 5th, and I'd be grateful for your vote.
And if people would like to learn more about you or donate to your campaign, where can they do that? KristinaRoegner.com. And Kristina spelled with a K. So it's KristinaRoegner.com. And we'll have the link to that
yes.
as well. So,
okay, good.
Well, Senator, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Best of luck to you
Thank you.
next week. And
Appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been Straight Shot Politics.